Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Maile if you're new here. Today is a good old-fashioned book video. I have not done a book video in a while, and I thought we are about halfway through the year. I've read a lot of good books this year, so I thought I would give you all of my 5-star books that I've read so far this year. Books that I would absolutely recommend, books I've loved reading, some that have surprised me, and I'm excited to share them all with you today. And if you're new here, welcome. We do lots of fun things on this channel, including book videos. We also do theater content, DIY home projects, vlogs of our life and our travel, grocery hauls, shopping videos, all kinds of fun things. So if you aren't subscribed and that sounds fun, click that red subscribe button. And without further ado, let me talk you through all my 5 stars so far this year. It's a good list. Okay, so first up, I won't get into detail about this because I have talked about this before on the channel, but I started the year out super strong rereading the Princess Diaries series. And oh my gosh, you guys, I had so many 5 stars in that bunch. All those books are just absolutely incredible, amazing. I would recommend them to any young adult. They are super, super awesome young adult books. But also like grown-ups, especially if you grew up in that 90s, 2000s era with the Princess Diaries, it's just a whole vibe. It will make you feel all the nostalgia. It's incredibly well written. They're super fast to get through. I just absolutely loved that series. So those were my first 5-star. It's a 5-star series. I rated some of them 4 and 3s, but most of that series I rated 5 stars. It's just that good and amazing. So definitely check out Princess Diaries. Okay, the next 5-star book that I read, and honestly, probably the top book I've read so far this year, is Barbra Streisand's memoir that finally came out after like 40 years of people asking for one. It's called My Name is Barbara. It details her entire career from start to finish, her time on Broadway, her time performing concerts and her anxiety surrounding that, her experience as a woman in the directing field in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and how hard that was. It's just an incredible insight on a woman who has an extreme amount of talent, extreme amount of intelligence. It's incredibly inspiring to read. It's just a 5-star all around, so incredibly good. I adore that book. And bonus points, listen to the audiobook, because when she talks about performances she's done, they play clips from the performances and it's incredible. It is so good. She also narrates it, so why wouldn't you listen to it? It's about 1,000 pages long. It's very, very long, but it is worth it. It just had me on my toes every single second I was listening to it. A 5-star, probably the best book I've read so far this year. But the next book that was a 5-star for me was actually very close competition to that. It's Kristen Hanna's new book, The Women, which is all about a nurse during Vietnam. Kristen Hanna is a phenomenal author. I love her so stinking much. Every single one of her books is incredible. This might have been my favorite so far. I just found it entirely fascinating. It's funny because Vietnam is a pretty close war to me, but I really didn't know that much about it as compared to like World War I, World War II. You learn so much about those wars in school, but you don't really learn much about the Vietnam War. And I kind of through this book learned why that is, and the stigma that surrounds that war, and the hardships that the nurses and the soldiers and the people who were attached to that war and fought in that war had to go through because of the political atmosphere around it. The fact that women were basically erased from that war. There were so many women that were there for medical purposes, being nurses and other support staff that were in the war, but would come home and people would say, you didn't go to Vietnam. Women weren't in Vietnam. There's just such a stigma, such a misconception around it all. And it was the most fascinating, heartfelt book. Oh, just incredible. She is an amazing writer and I love her so much. And this book obviously did not disappoint. Okay, the next 5-star I think I read was, well, I reread the Athiar series, and the first one is a solid 3. Like the first one is, ugh. But the second one and the third one and the fourth one, I give 5 stars to all of them. I did a whole in-depth Athiar video. I will link it here. You can go watch it. So I'm not going to get into details. And like I said, it was a reread. So it's freaking amazing though. I loved it so, so, so much. So always worth a reread to me. Then I read a book called The Frozen Lake. Oh, or is it The Frozen River? I can never remember. I get it wrong. It's both a murder mystery and like a historical fiction about a woman who was a nurse in a developing little town. It is just absolutely fascinating. The coolest part about that book was she did lots of home visits. She was not a trained nurse, but she had developed skills over time and went to people's houses and did house calls and helped their little town deliver babies and help heal sick people. And it was just so fascinating, like a case study of her going from patient to patient and figuring out what was wrong with each of them. And like I said, there's a mystery weaved throughout that is very freaking good. That book I think I read in like 1 or 2 sittings. It just had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. It was a mystery mixed with a historical fiction, and I absolutely adored it. The writing was so freaking good. I've since read more by that author. I haven't given any more of her books 5 stars, but all of them I think I've given 4 at least. The other ones I've read, she's a fantastic author, and I really, really love her books. Okay, the next book that I gave 5 stars to was a huge surprise to me. I'm part of a book club at work, and this was the book club choice for one of the months. It's a book called Annihilation, and it's a sci-fi book, which I do not read any sci-fi. I think it may honestly be the first sci-fi book I've ever read, and it is incredible. It is kind of journal style of a scientist that goes to this unexplored world, kind of like Area 51-esque, but more jungly, almost like Jurassic Park type vibes. There's something weird happening in this restricted area in America that all these scientists and other people are coming in to investigate because weird things happen around this area. They send in expedition after expedition to do research in the field, and every single group comes back either dead or totally altered. And it's this woman's journal and journey through experiencing what it's like to be on one of these expeditions. I read it in 1 sitting. I couldn't put it down. It has so much mystery, so much intrigue. I will say the rest of the series, not good. 2 to 3 stars. But that one, that first one, I think you could read it and not even finish the series. It's worth the read. It's a 5-star for sure. Annihilation. I loved it so much. I don't think I'm going to be picking up more sci-fi books, but man, this one-off was really freaking amazing, and I loved it. Okay, my next 5-star is a book called Stranded, which was recommended to me by my boss. It was so freaking good. It was about a woman who participates in a Lost/Survivor style reality show where a group of people have to go to a deserted island for a year and learn how to survive. And it all kind of falls apart pretty dang quickly, especially for her. She's kind of the odd man out of the group. She has to learn to survive in this turmoil of miscommunications and conflict within the group. And it turns out at the end of the year, the reality show is not there to pick them up, and they think they've been stranded permanently on this island. All hell breaks loose. There's a murder mystery element to it. It is fascinating, will keep you on the edge of your seat. That has really been the theme of a lot of my 5 stars, is books that have kept me on the edge of my seat this year. And this one, so freaking good. It's super quick and easy to get through too. I totally recommend it, especially if you need like a palate cleanser between like big fantasy series or like thick books. It is a quick and easy but very impactful story. I just absolutely loved it. A very unique book that I haven't read a lot of books like this. Okay, and then I read, oh my gosh, a crushing memoir by Stephanie Fu. It's called What My Bones Know. It documents her life growing up as an Asian in an abusive and neglectful household. She grew up with parents who were very mentally unstable and in different ways abused her, and oh my gosh, it was just a story of culture, a story of resilience, a story of overcoming, very raw, very real, hard to read at times. And the thing I loved most about it is she's maybe in her mid-30s. It's not like she's writing this book as a reflection as a 60 or 70-year-old woman who has fully processed everything and come out the other side. You're really experiencing a lot of her working through her trauma with her. A lot of the book is revisiting her experiences within the frame of her therapy sessions, and she takes us through her diagnosis of complex PTSD because of the abuse she faced as a child. And oh my gosh, it is just chocked full of intricate and heartbreaking realities of what it's like to grow up as an abused child and how that carries through your whole life with you. Her process was just so beautiful and raw, the way she laid it out in this memoir. Especially if you like memoirs, it is absolutely worth the read. Okay, then totally different 180 shift. The next book I read that was a very surprising 5-star was the Heartstopper series. Oh my gosh, this is a graphic novel series. I have never been into graphic novels, comics. I don't read that genre at all, but I picked this up because one of the booktubers that I follow randomly read it, and she's not into that genre either, and she absolutely fell in love with it. And I was like, maybe I should give that a try. It sounds like something I would really like. It follows 2 teenage boys, one who's openly gay and out in their British private school, one who is a big jock rugby player and working through his feelings of realizing that he's bi. And it's basically a very slow burn, sweet, innocent, precious love story between the two of them. It has the coolest graphics, and it's just the most like heartfelt, real, quirky, fun, accepting story. You follow these boys slowly fall in love, but also there are so many side characters of their friend groups and the bullies they face, and it's just so incredibly well-rounded. It is extremely diverse and showcases all types of different kids going through the high school experience, and oh my gosh, it is precious and wonderful. I love it so much. There are currently 5 of the graphic novels out, and I think there's a couple of novellas as well. I haven't read those, but I've read the entire series, and it's a 5-star series for me, totally across the board. And also you can read them in like 20 minutes. Okay, I can read them in 20 minutes, probably more like an hour each book, but they're super fast, super sweet to get through. Will just pull at your heartstrings, make you fall in love with every single character. I just absolutely adored these books. And bonus, there's a freaking show on Netflix, and it is very, very close and stays true to the comics. Is so sweet. I love the full cast of it. They just did an incredible job turning this very unique graphic novel into a very unique television show that is just as good. It's my new obsession. I love it so stinking much. You should absolutely go read them. They're for everybody. They're fabulous, especially if you have a kid in high school, middle school even. It just has so many relevant themes, and it's just so real and sweet, and oh my gosh, it's too good for this world, okay? I love that series so much. Okay, and then my last 5-star of the year, which is actually very surprising. It's Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I read her first book in this series. I can't remember what the series is called. I remember really enjoying the first one. I think I gave it 4 stars. I gave the second one 4 stars as well, and I didn't really expect much new and different and unique out of it. I mean, I like her writing. I like the way she formats her romance books, but they're not anything like groundbreaking or special. This one was amazing. It was so stinking good. It had a lot more depth than I'm used to seeing in a romance. The characters went through a lot of trauma in their backgrounds, and that really affects how they come together in a relationship, but they communicate about it and are really healthy about it, and just a lot of crap goes down in the book, and it's hard to read at times, but also just very cool to see those 2 characters who have been through so much relate to each other, support each other, be there for each other, and ultimately, you know, fall in love and live happily ever after. So it was a book with real like emotional depth, and I loved the characters in it. It's fun when you get to a 3rd book in a series that is still really freaking good, and honestly getting better and better, because and Abby Jimenez is also really good about her other characters making cameos and her worlds being connected. So that's fun to see little Easter eggs of the different books and characters throughout. It was just a very surprising 5-star read. I really love her writing. It made me respect her a lot more, and I look forward to whatever's next that she writes, because she is a great writer, and I loved that sweet romance book. Okay, that is it. Those are all my 5-star books so far this year. I've read some really good ones, kind of across the board in genres and in types of books. So hope you hear of 1 or 2 you may want to try, and let me know down below what your 5-star books you've read so far this year are. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!